this corner, weighing 142 pounds, the undefeated champion of the world, Mr. 217.
MMA, hey, MMA, hey, MMA, we gon' punch you in the face. MMA, hey, MMA, hey, Mayhem Radio, we turned up in this place. Off the ropes, with a chair, fight dirty, pull her hell, MMA, hey, MMA, hey, Mayhem Radio, we turned up in this place.
He hits him with a right, he hits him with a left, he ducks, uppercut, another uppercut, a punch to the right, he's out, KO, and Mr. 217 is still the undefeated champion of the world.
MMA MayhemRadio.com.
Welcome back, fight fans. Brad Storm back here once again with Sitting Down with the Storm. And you know what, fans? I have a special guest with me today. And he's going to be fighting Saturday, January 18th at the IP Casino Resort and Spa in Biloxi, Mississippi. He's going to be fighting at Atlas Fights 20, taking on Todd Lietermann. Ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome for Patrick Tank Abram. Patrick, how you doing, man?
Doing good, sir. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on with you.
Well, you know, Sitting Down with the Storm is a new venture for me, and we're trying to get a lot of fighters, a lot of coaches, and a lot of different variety of people with different traits and different skills on the show. And you know what, Patrick, I couldn't think of anybody better than having you step in and talk with me today, because Atlas Fights 20. This is going to be a big fight for you. Why don't you tell the fans a little bit about it?
Well, it's a passing of the torch fight. Todd Lietermann, he's an older guy. He's been around the fight world for quite a few years. He trains, he coaches, and he's retiring. This is his retirement fight, and I'm just getting started in my pro career. And I know Paul, who's the matchmaker. I went and saw a couple of Todd's fights when I was an amateur to learn, to study and everything. And it's going to be a great honor on my behalf. Plus, it's going to be a well-test skills because we both like to stand and bang, as you saw at Return to the Coliseum 2. I have no problems with trading punches. Return to the Coliseum, my bad. I have no problems with trading punches, and it's just my type of war.
Yeah, Return to the Coliseum, that was an outstanding fight. You came up a little bit short in that fight. Can you tell the fans what you learned from that fight and how you've been preparing for your upcoming fight?
Well, what I took away from that fight was to be a little more diverse on my strikes. I was more of a one-trick pony. But I was drawn at home, so I didn't feel like I needed to change anything. And I just needed to change up the ways more of my defense. I need to change more of my ways of how I counter punches and my head movement and stuff like that. So we've been drawing a lot on my counter striking and my defense, so I don't get caught in a rut where I'm slipping the punches the same way and get caught again.
Well, Patrick, why don't you let the fans know and myself know where you're training currently and who you've been sparring with to get you ready?
I've been training with my team. I just moved back to Alabama. It's my old team I used to train with in Alabama. It's Team CTD and NBD. I got quite a few old school boxers that used to box back in the bare knuckle days. And then I also go down and I cross-train with Outlaw MMA from time to time with my grappling and everything, because they got top-class grapplers. They got a brown belt from Remix Jiu-Jitsu. And then Matt, who's the actual head coach, he just became a black belt himself. So I've been training with them to get my ground game ready, because my head coach has done some studying on Todd, and he's what we like to call a bully in the MMA world. He tries to push you up against the cage and take it down and make it a dog fight. Well, I don't want that. I want it to be a technical striking war where I feel comfortable.
Now, yes, you talk about Todd saying he likes to be a bully, he likes to push his opponents around, and it looks like you said that he likes to take guys down and deliver the pain via ground and pound. How are you going to avoid that? Have you been working on your sprawls? Have you been working on positioning?
My sprawls are real solid. I've been training with a guy. He's a two-time All-American from Ohio State. And
Nice.
when you get that type of level wrestling in there against you, you've got to work your sprawls. If not, he's just going to put you on your back all day.
What weight class is this fight going to be taking place at?
This fight's going to be at 180. The state of Mississippi considers it a super welterweight
A
fight,
super welterweight,
but on
okay.
the card it's considered a middleweight.
And you talk about the weight cut. I know you posted on Facebook recently that the weight cut is probably the hardest thing for any fighter to do. How are you getting ready for that weight cut? And what's your current weight right now?
My current weight right now is about 185. That's the thing I hate about my weight cuts. When I get so close, my weight varies.
Right.
I'll be in one morning, I'll wake up, I'll be 185, okay, I'm on the money. Next morning I'll wake up, I'm 190. It's like, so I won't know until about 2 or 3 days out before if I got to do an extreme cut the night before or if I'm okay and I'm just coasting until I get there.
Do you have a nutritionist or anybody that specializes in the weight cut aspect of the game?
We have a nutritionist. He's also a former wrestling coach. He used to coach in Florida. But I've always had this problem even when I was an amateur. It's just, I guess it's my body type. I guess it's how my work ethic and everything depends on how much I cut. So I've been cutting my meals smaller, eating more often through the day, but just smaller meals to keep the energy level up. I've been doing a lot of hot boxing and sitting in the sauna to sweat out any water weight, and I've also been sleeping in the sauna suit at night.
Okay, right on. And as far as Atlas Fights 20 goes, have you ever fought for this promotion before?
Yes, actually, this is a coming home fight for me. I made my pro debut at Atlas. It was against a guy named Don Martinez, and this is back when I didn't know nothing about jiu-jitsu. I was just getting in the MMA world. Standing up, I was beating him and everything, and then he pushed me against the cage and took me down and got my back, and I didn't know what to do.
And all fighters, they usually take something away from all their fights. And obviously, you probably have worked on your defense to the rear naked choke. And how effective has that been for you?
It's actually been really good. When I was staying down in Florida, down in Fort Myers, I was training at a gym called MAU. And the jiu-jitsu coach there was a 4th degree brown belt under the Gracie.
Right. And what did he teach you when you were there?
He drove me real hard on my defense and everything.
Yeah, because jiu-jitsu is it's all a science. You could be the strongest guy in the world, as you could see with Royce Gracie and the many legends that have been jiu-jitsu guys. They can submit the bigger guys. Look at Anderson Silva too. I mean, this guy is an excellent jiu-jitsu practitioner, and you just don't learn it overnight. So has the training with jiu-jitsu, has it been frustrating at times? Do you look at it and start shaking your head saying, some things I just don't understand? Or are you grasping it pretty easily and improving every day?
There's sometimes when I'm learning, usually when I'm first starting to learn a new technique, like a new sweep or a new setup to get submission or something like that, it's hard for me to understand. So what I told my jiu-jitsu coaches is, look, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible with my submissions. I'm not going to be going for these crazy inverted calf slicers or anything like that. All I want to know that I have is a good submission defense to where if I get put in a bad situation, I can get out of it.
Right.
Different sweeps, different transitions to where I can get to a dominant position.
So you can get back on your feet and deliver the pain via your striking game, because that's your strength.
Yes, sir. And then have my basic submissions to where if I see an opening, I can attack it.
Excellent. And let's go back to Return to the Coliseum. You suffered an injury during that fight. The injury was to your ribs. How long did that take to heal? Was it more severe than it sounded? I mean, can you let the fans know?
It sounded worse than what it was. What happened is he saw that every time he threw his right hand, I was flipping to the left and going for the liver shot. So he set it up. He feinted the street right, and as soon as I dug, he met me with a roundhouse kick.
Right.
He had a height advantage on me, which I give him all props. That's what a good fighter does. He looks for openings or he creates them.
Being a young fighter, Patrick, when you suffer an injury, when you have to go to the hospital, how does one pay for those kind of injuries? I mean, does the company cover it? Do you have to cover it through your own insurance? What do you do?
Usually, if you suffer an injury, broken nose, broken ribs, your arm got broken because you wouldn't tap out in an arm bar or whatever, the company will cover the insurance. You file a claim right there. They have an insurance claim and all that for you to fill out, and then that will send you to the emergency room to get it checked out.
So,
in my case, I'm lucky enough to have insurance through my family.
Right.
And once my insurance rolls out, I know there's going to be I know that there's one company up in New York. The guy's real big into fighting, and he's trying to put an insurance policy together for the fighters.
And what's that company? You want to give them a plug?
I can't remember their names to save my life right now. I really apologize.
Well, I know a lot of promotions out there, Warfare, for example, are looking into ways where they can cover fighters if they get injured. And, in an ideal world, all the promotions would like to do so. But, yeah, for an up-and-coming fighter, I guess you would want to check these things out before you get into that cage or that squared circle. So if you do come down with an injury, you don't have to stress about how you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and also the basic stuff. I mean, people fail to understand how much stress the fighter goes through before he even starts his weight cut or he even steps in that cage, because we have to get blood work done. We have to get our HIV, hepatitis C, and hepatitis B surface antigen
eye exam.
done. And if any of that comes back negative, we don't even get allowed to come back to where we have one. We don't get to fight at all. And that's just stress, because as fighters, we love to fight. And you're taking the one thing away from us that we love to do if one of those tests come back.
Now, do you have an agent, so to say? What do fighters have? They have they work with agencies, so they get you guys to get all your tests done. They do all the promotion for you. How does that work?
Myself right now, I have a manager, John D'Angelo, Fight Mouth Management. He's also the matchmaker for Return to the Coliseum.
Yeah, I know John.
He helps me get fights. He lets me know of different fights around the area that the promoters are willing to work with me. It's my responsibility. I took the ask on myself for it to be my responsibility to make sure I get all registration, testing, and all that done, because it's just easier for me to remember than to have somebody else that's got 40 things on their plate.
Yeah.
To try to remember one little thing for me. And I just got sponsored for this fight, so it's also going to be my responsibility to remember to wear this shirt and everything. I want to give a shout out to that team. It's Your Fight Gear. My shirts just got put up on the internet. They're $20 a piece, so go out there and buy them.
Tell the fans how they can go get one.
You go to yourfightgear.com, go search my name, Patrick Abram. It'll pull up the shirt, add it to the cart, pay, boom, it's on its way to you.
How hard is it to get sponsors in MMA today?
It depends on who you are. It depends on who you know. Myself, it was hard for me because I'm basically right now a no name. Very little people know. I have a very little following base. But if you're training with, say, Black Zillions, or you're over in Louisiana training with Crazy Horse, they can get you sponsors left and right because they have the pools for it.
Right.
Myself, I don't have that high up enough connections to get the pools for it, so it's a little bit harder. That's why I'm really appreciated to your fight gear, because this is the first sponsor I've had in the almost 4 years that I've been in the MMA world.
Now, if fans want to get in touch with you, do you have a Twitter page? I know you got a Facebook page. Why don't you let the fans know how they can contact you and talk with you?
If the fans want to get a hold of me, one best way to get a hold of me is through my Facebook. I have 3 of them out there. You search Patrick Tank Abram, you find the dude who's looking funny as hell in a fight pose, and that's me. Other way to get a hold of me is through my email. It's tca87mbd@yahoo.com. I'm free to answer questions. Just so any of my fans know, when the weigh-ins are the 17th, so I'll be at the casino from the 17th to the 19th. On the 18th, I will be coming down 2 to 3 hours before fight time and everything, and be in the front lobby doing autographs, pictures, and all that.
Now, Patrick, I always asked, newcomers to either MMAMayhemRadio.com or Sitting Down with the Storm, how they got involved with mixed martial arts. Why don't you let everybody know how you entered into the world of MMA?
Well, when I was younger, I ended up getting into a lot of fights in school because I was always picked on, and I got sick and tired of being picked on, so I started fighting back, and it got me into a lot of trouble. So once I realized fighting back ain't the smart thing to do, let's find something else to do with my anger, I got to talking around with a couple guys that I worked with, and one guy that I still talk to and cross-train with from time to time, Nova Smith, told me about the gym he goes to, Outlaw MMA. I started training with them about 2 weeks before my first fight, when he told me about Travis. And when he told me about Travis and everything, I called Travis for about 2-3 weeks and bugged him straight just to get me a fight, to where I'll see what it's like to see if I want to do this or not.
Can you describe, hey, Patrick,
I ended up doing that.
Can you describe,
and that's how I got into the world of it.
Can you describe the first time you walked into a cage, the feelings you had?
2 hours before the fight, I threw up. If a fighter ever tells you he's not nervous before a fight, he's lying or he's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for almost 4 years, and I still get the butterflies before every fight.
But when they say, you ready, let's get it on, all those butterflies go away, right?
Yes. Well, with me, as soon as, if you notice when I fight, I take a knee before I fight, and I do a short prayer. That's when everything goes away. What I do is I do a quick prayer to Jesus, and as I walk into the cage, I'm singing the Warriors motto in my head, because before I got into all my trouble, I was going to be going into the Army. I was die hard. I memorized the Warriors code and everything, and every time I say that code in my head, for some reason, it just clicks a switch. And nice guy Patrick that's sitting here talking to you right now is no longer there.
Right on. How'd you get your nickname?
I got it for 2 different reasons. I was in ROTC in high school, and that's the first reason, because my last name's Abram, which is the same as the tank that the Army uses. The second reason is when I first started training up in New York with a couple of boxing coaches up there. They said I moved just like a tank. I'm real heavy on my feet, and I got a steel jaw, so I'm gonna walk straight through your punches.
Right on. Who's been your inspiration in MMA?
My two big fighters that I loved to follow before they retired was Chuck Liddell and George St. Pierre.
I thought you'd be like I thought you might like Chris Lieben too, man. You talk about taking punches and going through them. Back when Chris Lieben was young, he would do the same thing.
Yeah, Chris Lieben was a good fighter. He wasn't a great fighter because he messed up on how he would train.
Yeah.
Like he would focus on one element too much, so he would get caught in the others.
Right.
But if you look at Chuck Liddell, you look at George St. Pierre, they was constantly evolving their game to where they would stay on top. New age, I like John Jones and Chris Weidman. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Chris Weidman's going to hold the UFC 185 belt for a very long time. He's going to have some stiff competition, but I do believe he's going to hold it.
Well, MMA Mayhem Maniacs, you're going to want to check out Patrick Take Abram as he takes on Todd Lietermann Saturday, January 18th at the IP Casino Resort and Spa in Biloxi, Mississippi. Atlas Fights 20. It's going to be a good one. You got any words for your opponent before we let you go?
Out to Todd Lietermann, I just say best of luck to you, man. Thank you for taking this fight, and let's make it a war.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Brian, and hopefully see you at OC2.
Hey, real quick before I let you go, do you want to make a mention of any sponsors or any affiliates?
I want to give a shout out to my sponsors I just got, Your Fight Gear, to my coaches and teams at CTE, MBD, and Outlaw MMA. I couldn't do it without you guys. Shout out to my manager, John D'Angelo. Shout out to Paul, who set this fight up for me at Atlas. I appreciate all this, and I'm coming home with the win one way or another.
Patrick Take Abram, Atlas Fights 20. He's ready, because if you're not, he's going to punch you in the face!